Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the final day of March. Cheers to all of you out there. And as Sly Dog says, well, I'm not dumb, but I can't understand why she walked like a woman, but she talked like a man. I'm talking Lola. Like the Kinks. Way to start off that Friday afternoon going into the weekend. So cheers, everybody. Oh, Garrison. Whew. Garrison, I'm not quite sure which one this is, but I got a couple bottles for my birthday of Garrison whiskey. Good stuff. A little bit strong, but it's Friday. We ended the week strong, so we'll talk about that. I would give everybody a shout out here, but it would take so long. Good to see everybody. Hello, gang. Glad to have you all with me on a Friday afternoon. Again, this will be kind of an open Q&A. I didn't get a chance to prep a lot today and look at the questions that came in. So if you got questions, add question marks, send them on into the chat, and I will gladly answer whatever I can for today. Now, the interesting part of today is it is, in fact, the end of the month. Now, March, depending on which asset class you're looking at, we had a pretty mixed bag, right? And I'm going to start there. Here's our graphic to start the day. I actually had some pictures of Donald Trump. I said, show me pictures of Donald Trump in New York going to the trial, escorted by police. But I figured I didn't want to offend anybody. Somebody might think I'm anti-Trump or pro-Trump, whatever. Maybe when he actually does go to the courthouse and surrenders himself, maybe we'll do a graphic that day. But I decided to go with the bullish market. Granted, the bull that AI created today has got some funky-ass legs and some weird-ass horns, but that's what we got. Lots of data coming through this week, and I want to start by going through our top 7 markets we normally look at, just to put it into perspective of how they moved this week. Coming in dead last, which was somewhat surprising. Actually, indexes generally run together, and we talked with Corey Lane and others with this topic where the Russell is kind of this canary in the coal mine, right? If all of a sudden the Russell starts to do really bad, it tends to bring the markets down shortly after. Or if the Russell rallies really strong, it tends to rally those markets. And it's not really going that way this time. It seems like the Russell kind of fell apart for the month of March, and the other indexes, as you will see here, looking pretty good. It's been very well. So here's your number for the Russell 2000, down 5.2%. Now, what I should have done is on my graphics here, I should have actually gone and outlined what was for just the month of March with the yellow box. But really, you go here, we'll go to much. What I do with these is I always go from the closing price of the previous month to where we closed here today. And it's actually even slightly different than that number. So this is off the futures. These numbers that I'm going to be showing you are off of the ETFs because sometimes there's rollover change, which kind of messes things up a little bit. Good to see you, Catherine. All right, let's go check out that one, Sharif. Give me just a second to run through these top 7. So there's your Russell 2000, which on the day was great, right? Over 2% on the session. So a beautiful big breakout candle. We had talked about this 1800 level and said, getting above the 1800 level could see a nice bullish move. The great thing for any of you who are bullish on these markets right now is take a peek at your next area of resistance or supply, depending on which your school of thought is or your school is. I'll draw this line right up here. Your next major stopping point is 1880. Now, considering that today the Russell moved 36 points and that was 2%, another 80 points from here, or roughly 70 points, would be about another 4%. And given the way that it moved this week, you might see it happen actually rather quickly. So I will just show you here. This week, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looking just about 4% this week alone to the upside. So it was down much more than our 5.2% that I have outlined here on this chart. Yep, regional banks hit the Russell. Yep, absolutely. There's still, and again, I still think there's some great opportunities out there. I was kind of looking through some of the regionals today, thinking maybe I might sell some puts on some of these, collect some premium down even lower, but I passed on those today. Oil for the month of March, down 1.96%. So let's go look at the crude oil chart here. It's funny, we say down 1.96%, but the move we've had since the mid-March has just been unbelievable. At one point, it was down over 16%. We've moved 17.6% almost straight up in the last 9 trading sessions for crude oil. So that has been awesome. I actually had some USO that I've been selling calls against. That got taken away today for me, so fine with that as well. Made some nice profit on that bad boy. But, you look at this huge rally for almost 2 weeks, and you think, well, this is great. Well, overall, it's still down 1.96% for the month of March. Even though it had a great comeback at the end, didn't quite finish in positive territory. Now, from there, we start to move into the good stuff. A little bit of green on the screen. Let's keep going. Dow Jones Industrial Average, 1.87% for the month of March. As you can see here with the Dow futures, it's really about the last couple weeks. I mean, today was up 1.49% by itself. We talked about your next logical target. So yesterday, we were talking about the potential for this breakout. Said I was bullish on it. It looked good because we broke above 33,000 on yesterday's candle and closed above it. But all of a sudden today, it was just get up and go. We finished at 33,500, which is really right in the middle of that, actually near the higher end of this supply zone up near the top. Let me go and put that one here. And this was, again, what we talked about on yesterday's show. There's that supply zone, and you were pretty much right near the top end of it. If we get above this current level, which has a high price right around 33,000, call it 30,600, you start to look at some level on top of levels where there was really just consolidating between December and February of last year, or February of this year, but in December of last year. We have a lot of consolidation here, so I don't see any really strong overhead supply zones. The one that we rallied into right now on the Dow is the strongest one, and of course, it always seems like that happens as we go into the weekend. So we'll have to see how the market responds to that level going into Sunday night's open. But look at the move. Has just been phenomenal. Great upswing for most of these indexes, except the Russell. Here's your NASDAQ 100, which beat out the Dow today, 1.73% gain. It closed above that area of supply, so your next logical stopping point is going to be this peak that we saw going back into August of 2022. Which puts you right around 13,600 on the NASDAQ 100. Currently, we're at 13,300. So another 300-point move, which would be roughly, I'll call it 2% move up from here, which I tell you what, could hit that in no time at all. It's just been on an absolute tear here recently. Money pouring back into tech, and I think the quantitative easing that you're seeing here, more money being pumped in, bodes well for tech stocks. So that's done great for the NASDAQ. But it is not in your top three. Let's go. Did I already skip the NASDAQ? I'm actually jumped. I went up the list. We went from Dow Jones to S&P, so I already kind of skipped the NASDAQ. We'll get to that in a second. But here's your S&P, was up 3.34%. Hey, I'm a fan of the NASDAQ too, man. I like all the indexes except the Dow. Dow, I think, is just kind of 30 stocks doesn't really cut it for me. But I would say if I had to get a tattoo of an index, it'd probably be the S&P 500, just because I like the diversity of it. Plus, I trade more options on the SPX and XPY. All right, let's see. On S&P 500, 3.34% for the month. On the day, though, you had only 1.5% gain. So not your best performer for the day, but for the month it was. And again, the breakout today was just huge. I was mentioning on yesterday's show that we did not get a close above that yellow box. Therefore, you have to wait and see how today responded. And of course, responded with a very bullish up move, ripping right up into the next area of supply. So we went from one supply zone to the next in one day on the S&P 500. We zoom out again, though. We still are in this compression and sideways channel, right? So looking decent for anybody who's bullish here, but until it breaks out of this triangle, which for me would really mean breaking these highs from back in February of this year, I still think you'll just see sideways compression of the S&P. All right, next on my list as I work our way up to the podium spot, we've got gold. I believe gold coming in a third place finish. Commodities did really well for the month. 7.92% up move for gold. Here is my GC. Now, even though it was down 0.56% on the day, you have still for the month 7.92%. And you get, of course, most of that coming on this giant bull flag formation here. Where would I put my said tattoo? Hey, Chris, good to see you, my friend. I am tattoo free. It's so funny. I think it's almost a sign of age. I am tattoo free. I'll never get a tattoo. But most of the people I know, especially down here in Southern California, you have to have a tattoo. And you just have to have one. And my attitude is, why would I put a bumper sticker on a Bentley? Just got to say, yeah, I'm calling myself a Bentley. You know it. Even though I don't really like Bentleys, I would maybe go for a different car. Ferrari sounds a little too arrogant. Bentley, Rolls-Royce is a little too elitist for me. Maybe a bumper sticker on a Porsche. Given my heritage, maybe I should just go with the Porsche. Anyway, no tattoos. It's funny, for those of you who live in Southern California, if you go to Huntington Beach, they won't let you into town if you don't have a sleeve. You have to have a sleeve tattoo in order to go in shopping in Huntington Beach. It's just the rules of HB. Anyway, I'll stop my rant. So that was gold. We'll look at that the formation here in just a second. You know, we've got to ask ourselves, do we want to keep these lines on here or not? That's really up to you. Personally, I don't think that they're very valid. I would actually modify this a little bit, and let me show you the modification that I would make, because this is kind of a pennant, but I don't know. It doesn't look very strong to me. So what I would do is something more like this, and I would go across those highs. I like that better. But I'm just really looking for the breakout trade here. I do have a I do have a bumper. Actually, I don't have a bumper sticker on my Tacoma. I do not have a bumper sticker on my Tacoma. I have a fish donut, which isn't quite the same, right? It isn't quite the same there, Katie. Thanks. Anyway, there is your basic. This would be really a bullish flag formation if you saw something like this. And again, it's that big impulse move to the upside. You have the corrective phase here, which was sharper than it really should have been. But it's been making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And notice it's been smacking its head right around that same point. So this is actually almost like a bullish flag formation, ascending triangle into it. So that's where I would modify that pattern for me. And since it's my show, I guess that's where we're modifying it to. All right, next on our list. We went from gold, which is third place. We already talked about the NASDAQ 100, which is up 9.3%. I generally look at the QQQs for the monthly review, simply because we don't get that contract rollover, which can screw up the futures product. So NASDAQ 100, just great. You had that again. You had the breakout, and now it's just going to be seeking out the next supply zone. And you notice there are quite a few spots here. Ultimate one would be this 332 on it, which is another 11 points up from here, which would put us up another 4% on the NASDAQ. So right now, things looking really good. You're hearing more optimistic news, and I will talk to you in just a second about the economic data that came out today, which would support this NASDAQ actually hitting that much higher price of 332. All right, the final one, and one that I'm very happy about. Obviously, my Bitcoin position is getting bigger every week as I do automatic payments, automatic purchases every week. 22.59% for Bitcoin on the month of March. That is pretty damn good. Here is the Bitcoin futures. Bring that one up here. And, you know, even though it's up 22.5% for the month, most of it happening really in we call it an 8-day window of time, because we really have just been chopping back and forth here. What I'm really pleased about with this Bitcoin so far is we have not broken this low. Again, 26,665 is the important number here, because that represents the base, right? The bottom of all these tails of these candlesticks here, but it also hasn't really made any new highs. So if it keeps on drifting up here, I think we'll see a similar situation like we saw with the Dow, which is it smacks its head against it, stays near the top, and then all of a sudden it breaks out. And then the question is, where does it go to next? I have that 32.87 line, but I actually think your next logical target is going to be right around 31,000, which would be fine with me. Let's just get above 30. All right, boo for Bitcoin. Wow, you don't like Bitcoin? Strongest index is the Russell? No. Weakest index is the Russell. I mean, look at the chart. This is definitely the weakest index right here. Is the Russell. I think that's what you meant there, Robert. So that's your month in review. Kind of good to see those numbers pop in. Good to see Bitcoin have a little bit of a surge, particularly for me. What we'll do now is I just want to go look at some of the economic data that came out today, because that to me starts to sway the Fed. Again, I'm in the camp of we are going to see a 25 basis point raise at the next meeting. I still think that's the way to go, just to make sure that inflation gets under control to the extent that the Fed wants it. Again, you know, you had some good economic data come out today with regards to inflation, so let's look at that first. So here is the economic calendar for today. Now, of course, if you're trading the euro, which I know many of you do trade the euro, I know we've got some Forex traders in here. It's been a pretty strong couple of weeks for that euro, kind of ripping towards those highs. You had some economic data for the euro today. You had the German unemployment change. You had euro unemployment rate, which came in line with expectations. So nothing really detrimental to their economy. The only part here was this core CPI flash estimate number that came in line with expectations, and your CPI flash estimate actually got even lower. So that's good news for the euro. Now, the real stuff that's important, because it's where I live and trade, is the economic data for the United States. Now, the previous month was 0.5% increase in core PCE price index, which is the Fed's main inflationary metric. Thought they were going to come out at 0.4%. That was the expectation. And if you look here, came out at 0.3. So this is actually a very good thing. You had a couple good points here. Number one was that the PCE number came out lower than expected. That's giving you the clue that inflation is becoming more under control, not out of control, but in control. You also had some news here with personal income and spending. So it looks like income, although it decreased, didn't decrease as much as they expected. In spending, they actually expected spending to increase, and that stayed the same. So people like myself watching their expenses, not spending what they don't need to. If you are expecting the economy to be robust and move up, you want to see personal spending keep going and let people, spending that cash and getting out there. So let's go look at the Fed funds futures. Now, of course, and maybe I should type into chat. Let me see if I can do a poll because I'm kind of curious what. Oh, it's so tough to do this and talk. Next meeting, FOMC meeting. All right, so I'm gonna go no change. Don't worry, you guys can cut 25. Add an option. We're gonna raise 25, and I think that's pretty much it. We'll just put those three options, and then we'll ask my community. So here is the poll. What will the Fed do at the next FOMC meeting, which again is going to be May 3rd, so we've got pretty much 1 month. Will they make no change? Will they cut 25, or will they raise 25 basis points? You guys let me know what you think. And again, it doesn't make too much of a difference because we're all just going to be along for the ride. But, as we process all this data, the fundamental stuff that's coming in and shaping where the economy may be going, you should have a pretty good sense as to where it's going to go. Now, one thing to keep in mind, hold on, let me have a nice sip of this whiskey here. One thing to keep in mind is that the Fed has telegraphed their punches, right? We are currently sitting at 5% for the Fed funds rate. Jerome Powell said, we expect to be at 5.1 by the end of the year. So we might get maybe not even a quarter, we might get a tiny 10 basis point increase to just so he can meet his number. But what doesn't make sense is it doesn't make sense for him to stop and then start up again, right? You keep doing this until you start to see some detrimental impacts hit the economy. Right now, we're not seeing any of that, right? Next week, we'll have the unemployment number come out on Friday. That's going to be a big one. We had our GDP numbers, which were fine. So all in all, seems pretty decent at this point. So I think that they will probably continue to raise, but I don't want to sway your bets. Let me finalize the poll here. I got 32% of you saying no change, 63% of you saying they're going to raise, and 3% saying cut. Okay, well, let's go see what the Fed is actually, what the people who are betting on the Fed, where the real money is at, what are they forecasting? And again, this is not final by any means. When I looked earlier today, it was about 50-50. Yeah, you got a 52% chance they're going to keep it with no raise or no cut, keep it right where it's at, a 47% chance of a 25 basis point increase. And it just seems to me that, again, you don't want to disrupt the momentum that you have going with the Fed. Certainly, we could make the argument that it is impacting inflation. We're seeing prices drop, which is good, but it's nowhere near the Fed's target of 2%. We have a long way to go until we get to that. So it makes sense they would keep their foot on the pedal, but we'll wait and see. Again, we've got a month till that announcement comes out. All right, let's see. What do I got here? I vote for the NASDAQ. Let's talk Elizabeth Warren about the number one. Elizabeth Warren. I was talking to Larry today, and he goes, "Hey, Merlin, you should have said something yesterday." And I go, "Man, I don't know how I missed that one. It was such an obvious one." I said, Elizabeth Warren's losing her mind. She's off her rocker. What I should have said is she's off the reservation. And that would have been a little more funny for the day. But anyway. All right, let me see what the questions are. Russell reflects the real world. The best tickers based on value, not hype. I mean, not value, because again, with small caps, you generally have higher PE ratios because it's expectations that this small cap could turn into a big cap, right? So I don't know if I necessarily would agree with that and say best tickers based on value. It's just a market segment that's got smaller market capitalizations. And I forget what the cutoff is. It's a few $1 billion is the cutoff, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head, but most of those are small caps for a reason. And as they get bigger and bigger, yeah, they make it into the large cap stuff, and maybe we see them added to the S&P. But to me, the Russell is more a measure of economic, where we stand as far as an economy at any one moment in time. So put yourselves in the shoes of a big business. Let's say you're Microsoft or Amazon or Google or something like that. General Electric. when markets are robust, usually you have access to cheap money, which is what we had in the past, right? Money was really cheap. Fed funds rate was at zero. You could get really cheap loans. So businesses would get these loans and go out there and start acquiring small cap companies, right? Finding somebody who may have a synergistic technology, something that worked well for the big company, maybe even a competitor, and go and buy those companies out. Generally, that's a sign of market growth, right? When you're in a bullish phase. And the prices of the Russell tend to do well because those merger and acquisition prices tend to be somewhat inflated. So you get a lot of accumulation, people buy these smaller companies, and the share prices run. That's typical in a very healthy, strong economy. But when it's the opposite, when markets are weak and we start to see the economy start to slow down, Russell kind of takes it in the shorts because it's those smaller companies. And again, people will go to the places where they get cheap goods and services. So you start to see things like Walmart or Target do well because they sell a bunch of crap really cheap that's made in China. So I think that's at least the way I look at it, is the major measurement of where we are in an economic cycle. If things are really robust, Russell 2000 is where you want to be, right? If it's kind of a slow market, things are drifting down, I would probably not stay in an index. I would actually go into specific market segments. If market's declining, I'd probably be looking for utilities or consumer staples would be my go-to to buoy those losses in that down market. You think the bottom is in for Bitcoin? Nah, I still don't think so. I still think that there's so much trouble ahead. But you know what's interesting when you look at what's going on with this market, there's been so much bad news and press thrown at cryptocurrency, in particular Bitcoin, this year. It's mind-boggling. Yet it continues to rally up. That's really the part that shocks me. I would have anticipated that the whole crypto would have continued to slowly drift down, if not just kind of stay going sideways. But Bitcoin's seems to be responding positively to these attacks by the SEC on Coinbase, on Kraken, on Justin Sun and Tron, the attacks that you're seeing going on from Elizabeth Warren saying she's building an anti-crypto army. It seems like that's acting as a catalyst for people to move money into Bitcoin. Also, the banking system, what we've seen happen in the past 3 weeks has been just jaw-dropping. Bitcoin's done really well during that period of time. And maybe it's people like me who are going, screw the banking system. I'm sick of it. Sick of the fractional reserve lending. I'm sick of not knowing that my money's there. I hate knowing that the bank can cut me off at any time. And I think there's a lot of people like that. And hopefully, with more education, not just from on my part, but there's a lot of educators out there in the cryptocurrency space. Hopefully, we get to the ears of some of these politicians like Elizabeth Warren and make her realize that she doesn't need an anti-crypto army. Absolutely not. What they need to do is put guardrails on the crypto industry so scammers like Do Kwon and Sam Bankman-Fried, they can't come to the surface, right? There needs to be some. You want to open a crypto exchange? Awesome. Do it. It's jobs. It's economic growth. But these are the rules you have to follow. Just make a list. You got to do these things. Have some regulatory agencies in there. You want to create a cryptocurrency? Awesome. Do it. But these are the rules you have to follow. And it's a security or it's a commodity, right? Right away, let's get those rules. Gary Gensler says that the rules are very clear, and for people to understand, that is absolute hogwash. They're not clear at all. It's so opaque. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so I don't think the bottom is in, Jeff. I mean, I hope it is because I have a lot of cryptocurrency, but I don't know. Just the negativity around it makes me feel like you're going to see things drift down, but I've been dead wrong for a month and a half now. Certain sectors will always be small and remain small with the Russell. I have to look at the earnings ratios for the RUT and other indexes. Cool. World War III, check DJI. No. We're not going to World War III. Let's not think like that. Come on, NJ. We don't need to think no wars. What do you want? You look at DJI and SPX? Oh, you mean going back to the 1940s? Nah, I don't think so. I think we're okay. Ganesh, what's your take on Buffett and Charlie opposing crypto? They have a good knowledge of finance, unlike the elected officials. Is it due to not knowing new technology or wanting to know? Let me ask you guys that question. It's a great question, Ganesh. In my mind, I have a very definitive answer, and it's very clear and easy for me. Why do you think Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger hate cryptocurrency? Why do they hate cryptocurrency? It's interesting. When you look at the portfolio for Berkshire Hathaway, as you run down that list, every single company that they own is centralized. So Warren Buffett is really, and Munger, Berkshire Hathaway, is making their money by centralized companies. You think that Dairy Queen is decentralized? No, Dairy Queen calls the shots. So they're all Dairy Queen. They control everything about it. With decentralized organizations, whether that's Bitcoin or Ethereum, there is no one centralized figure who has control. So no one centralized figure can maintain and control everything, right? That's how you make money. You look at why Amazon is so powerful. Centralized. They control everything. If this was a democracy and is a democratic open source platform called Amazon that everybody had a say in, it wouldn't be as powerful as it is today. It would be much more decentralized. The profits wouldn't be there, right? It'd be a very, very different marketplace. So, number one, I think you guys are right. They don't understand it. They're too old. Well, let's not say they're too old, because I think that I think that anybody of any age, if they're intelligent at any age, can listen to people's arguments and listen to both sides and formulate their own opinion. And I'm really shocked, because you would think that Warren Buffett would have been surrounded by people that are very smart, saying, hey, here's the arguments for, and here's the arguments against. Just sit down and understand something. But when you have somebody like Charlie Munger, who said, and I quote, trading Bitcoin is like trading freshly harvested baby brains. First off, you are a disgusting human being if you can even think about trading freshly harvested baby brains. That's a direct quote from Charlie Munger. So crazy. The other comments here are that they compete with the banks. And that may very well be, right? Warren Buffett has been invested in Wells Fargo and some other banks for quite some time. Bank of America, he had big shares there. And crypto, if you read the white paper like I was ranting yesterday, Bitcoin is designed to replace the banks. Be your own bank. Be responsible for all your own money. And again, you lose that kind of power, you lose control over the banking system. I mean, you lose almost all your power. And that's, again, why the government is going after crypto and Bitcoin. So, they are smart, but they're also going with what they know, right? There's an old adage that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what are they looking for? They're looking for beaten up value companies that they understand. They're buying Coca-Cola because he drinks a lot of Coca-Cola. He's buying Dairy Queen because he goes to the Dairy Queen and he eats Dairy Queen a lot. He's going and buying Geico because he knows everybody needs insurance. That's a great business to be in, right? He's buying the banks because he realizes that banks are the ones that are making all the money off of everybody else's money, right? These are timeless business models that they understand. Going out there and saying, hey, here's a digital asset that hasn't really proven itself yet would be a little bit frightening to those old curmudgeons. But, he also doesn't invest in technology. He had some Apple, right? But how late did he get into Apple? He wasn't the early adopter. He didn't see it early on. So those guys their portfolio is not built off of tech. You want tech, you got to go somewhere else. Go Kathy Wood if you want. Let's see. They're fighting. There were some good comments in here. Some of you said they're invested in the banks. You're right, Gary. They are. We are fighting within our own country. Well, okay. Because they're so old, can't understand it. I agree with you, Robert. Bitcoin's here to stay. You can't turn it off. They don't understand it. It says less. They're too old. Yep. I mean, those are the obvious ones, right? Let's see. For many years, Dairy Queen franchises had to buy 100% of their supplies from Dairy Queen. That changed in 19... Really? I didn't know that. Well, he owns Dairy Queen. Let's see. Rob says, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I tell you what, it's all up to the dog. I mean, it's a great phrase. We've all heard that one. We grew up with that phrase. But I think, again, it all goes down to the dogs. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm set in my ways. I know what I know. I think I have a good understanding of certain things. But if I see someone that shows me something different that improves on a way of my mindset and through understanding of something can convince me, I will always be open-minded and ready to change. But that makes me a little bit different. Hopefully our elected officials are more like that, which they can be open-minded and think about something objectively, is like Jenny Yellen, like Elizabeth Warren. To outright say anti-crypto right away shows me that you're ignorant. You are absolutely ignorant. You have no idea because you think it's all bad, and that's not the case. A lot of it is bad, but not all of it. All right. Margaret says, buy what you know. Yep, absolutely. Oliver, you think Warren Buffett is buying Bitcoin? I don't think so, man. If he is, that'd be a sly move. Back in was that the 70s or 80s? I think it was the 80s. Warren Buffett was secretly, quietly, not saying a word to anybody, buying silver. And he bought a lot of silver. Now, it's not quite the Hunt brothers silver cornering the market, but they bought a ton of silver. And here's where, you and I don't have this luxury. And the luxury is this. The luxury that Warren Buffett has is when he opens his mouth and says anything about anything, the world's like, oh my God, Warren Buffett just said this, right? So I wish I could remember the year, but in the 80s, he was buying silver and buying a lot of it. So, of course, his actions by buying silver drive up the price of silver. And then it got to the point where someone leaked, probably was Warren Buffett's organization or himself, and he says, they asked him in an interview, said, what do you think are you buying silver? And he goes, yes, I'm buying silver. And the moment he said that, silver just surged because everybody's like, oh my God, Warren Buffett's buying silver. But what they didn't ask him is, how long have you been buying silver? He'd already amassed a huge position. This is power that he has that you and I will never have. Plus, I'm not going to front run trades. Like if I say I'm buying something, I'll tell you, like started buying it yesterday, or I'm going to buy it tomorrow if this happens. This was secretly buying it, then telling the world loves it, they buy it, it jumps up your silver price, and what do you think he did with the silver? Made it rain like a rapper in a strip club, man. He was just throwing that silver out. Here, you guys want to buy it at elevated prices? Take it. So keep that in mind when you look at someone and you hear about their amazing track record, how great they are. Once you get to that level of reputation, the world listens to everything you say, and the ability for someone like Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, Charlie Munger to front run orders or trades, pump and dump is another term, is very easy for them to do. Anyway, won't go down that rabbit hole. You mean Larry has convinced you to trade option spreads? It's not Larry. It's just I know I should. If you look at the First Republic trade we made last week, it was kind of funny. I told you guys I sold some puts on it, and Tom goes, "Well, why don't you just buy a put as well and hedge your risk?" And I was like, "Here's why. Because on that specific trade, if I was to buy that put, I would take away some of my rate of return." And I felt pretty strongly that we weren't going to go down past $10, so I don't need to give away that rate of return. But you're right. There are other situations where you do want to open up that spread to protect yourself and limit your risk, and give away some of your profits. Sorry, this is off topic. Just got here. Wondering what can happen to my Thinkorswim trading account if Schwab goes under, or my funds in jeopardy. Well, Schwab's not going to go on. Well, now I sound like Jim Cramer. I don't believe that Schwab is going to go under. I don't believe it's going to go under. However, what hypothetically would happen if your Thinkorswim went under, right? If that happened, your assets, if you have shares of anything, so Margaret, Karen, if you have, let's say, $100,000 worth of Microsoft and $10,000 worth of AT&T, whatever, your securities are protected up to $500,000. So you're up to $500,000 worth of protection on securities, and $250,000 for cash deposits. So if you're over that, then you might want to think about moving and lowering your account size so that no account is over $500,000 in a trading account and no account is over $250,000 in cash. So that's what I would say. Yep, Oliver, you're right. You're insured $250,000 for cash, $500,000 for securities. And again, the FDIC is what insures your cash. The SIPC is what insures your securities. There you go. Warren also is trying to say that the biggest blunder for us was allowing crypto. It's interesting when you think that, if you are, whichever side of the aisle you are on, Democrat, Republican, hell, Libertarian, it makes no difference to me. If you believe that jobs are critical to American growth and we should be creating new jobs because we are certainly displacing jobs as well, right? There's a lot of jobs that are going to be going away because of AI. AI, as I mentioned a few weeks back, is amazing, but it also threatens the system, in my opinion, and some jobs will disappear. So you're going to have job destruction because of technology. Therefore, technology should also give you job creation. And if you want to bring those jobs to America, then what you need to do is you need to have favorable rules for crypto and digital asset companies. Just make the damn rules. It's not like you have to ban everything. Just make some very clear rules on what they can and cannot do, and have a regulatory body, for now anyway, that governs that to make sure that we don't have a Do Kwon Terra Luna moment, right? We don't need that anymore. So, I think that's probably the biggest part for me, is watching these politicians go, let's be anti-crypto, because when China closed off crypto, they lost a lot of business. A lot of it came to America. And what you're going to do is you're just going to force these technology companies to go to a different country that's favorable. Right now, I'll tell you what, I literally sat in bed last night thinking that my next vacation, my next trip that I'm going to take is going to be El Salvador. El Salvador used to have one of the highest crime rates in South America. Since they've implemented this Bitcoin as currency, They've cracked down on all the gangs. It's gone to one of the lowest crime rates in South America, or Central America. Central America. The real estate market's doing well. Tourism is booming. It's all of a sudden become this amazing thing for El Salvador. And if El Salvador raises their hand and says, hey, listen, we will welcome any crypto project. We'll even give you some special tax treatment. Dude, El Salvador could be like the next up-and-coming super hot spot in the world. It's beautiful beaches and stuff like that. Like, I think I'm going to, anyone want to go to El Salvador? Come on, let's go to El Salvador. Let's go spend some Bitcoin, support the cause, and I might even buy some real estate along the way. There is a Bitcoin beach. I mean, I'm in. I love beaches. Give me warm weather. I'm down here in Southern California. I'm dressed all flowery today because it was beautiful and sunny for about 2 hours here today. Walter says, I'm from El Salvador. Shout out. Right on. Hey, Walter, email me with some suggestions of where are the best beaches in El Salvador within proximity to a big city, right? A good city. I know you may not live there currently, but I'll tell you what, I would love to find a great place because Costa Rica's blown out, right? That's all Americanized. But if I really believe in this cause, why not move to El Salvador, support the cause? All right, let me see. Is there any limit for a 401k account? Like $500,000 for two? That's a really good question, Ganesh. I don't know that. Since it is a securities account, my assumption, and I'm assuming here, I'll have to do some research on this one. I'm assuming that your 401k is protected up to $500,000, which, you know, if you got more than $500,000 in your 401k, you might want to split that around. That's an interesting one. Not sure about that one. Let's see what Tom says. Because the bad bonds are only bad if they need to cash them. Exactly. Schwab has credit facilities, so they don't need to cash. Exactly. And that's the point I made the other day, Big Eb, was they're not going to have a run in their bank where they're forced to sell those bonds. So, yeah, they're not making a ton of profit, but they're not forced to sell at a loss right now. If they just held them to maturity, everything will be okay for Schwab. I think Schwab's fine. God, I really sound like Jim Cramer right now. Bear Stearns is fine. You don't need to sell Bear Stearns. It's fine. I'm not going that adamant, but I do think Charles Schwab is going to be okay here. Again, looking at their deposits and knowing that 80% are under FDIC. Even if they had a run on it, you only have 20% of those accounts, and that's assuming that every customer above the FDIC limit pulls out. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I don't think so. I think you're fine. You know, it's tough because you've seen Charles Schwab dip. Right, and today actually finished with a little hammer formation, almost a double bottom hammer formation. So I might look at this and maybe I might sell some more puts again, like I did a couple weeks ago on that big down day. And you know, if I end up selling the 47.50s or the 45s, we'll see what the premium is on Monday. I'm fine longer term holding Charles Schwab. I think that the contagion, the flu, the financial flu, if you will, because of what happened with Silvergate and Silicon Valley. It brought everybody down, right? Everybody got hammered on this one. And there's a few that I think will really come out shining better than others. I think Schwab's one of them. I think JP Morgan is and Bank of America. So those are the ones I've jumped on. Can you invest Bitcoin in an IRA? Yes, you can, Jimmy. You have to have a special IRA. I have a coworker who Invest Capital. I think it's called Invest Capital. But there are some 401ks you can actually buy cryptocurrency in. You can buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and different ones like that. Just make sure you check the reviews of them and also look at the fee structures because a lot of them have high fee structures. But yeah. Merlin, you said that you store your Bitcoin using cold storage. If you need to sell it, where and how would you do this? So if I needed to sell my Bitcoin or any of my crypto that's on here, I could move it to an exchange. I believe you can actually now trade from the device itself. I haven't looked. I'm not going to bring it up right now. If not, you would have to sell it to a centralized exchange like a Coinbase or Kraken or Binance, close it there, and then move the cash into your checking and savings. I think at some point we may see a mechanism inside of a ledger or Trezor, which is cold storage, where you can go directly into checking and savings. But I think that's going to be down the road a little bit. I want to open a custodial Roth IRA for my kids? You should. Absolutely. There you go. Thank you, John. Yeah, it's I Trust. I knew it was something like that. I thought it was Invest Capital. So I Trust Capital is what it is. Let's see. There you go. Bitcoin. No, that's Bitcoin IRA. Here's I Trust Capital. And again, this is not a recommendation. Do your due diligence, but this is just an example. You could use crypto, gold, and silver. Again, you have different pricing, so this is nice. You have a 0% monthly fee. That used to be like $19 a month. They've dropped that. You have a 1% currency transaction fee. Now, remember, when you have this 1% transaction fee here, there's a big problem with this. While it sounds fine, I mean, Coinbase is more than that. Coinbase is at minimum 1.5% if you do their basic site, upwards of 3%. What they don't tell you here is how wide the spread is, right? So you don't know the price that you're buying it at. So they're charging you 1%, and they're widening the spread on those. You got gold transaction fee, $50 over spot price. So that's their commission they're adding on. So not bad. Let's see if they tells you all the different cryptos you can invest in here. They had a whole bunch. Anyway, I won't waste the time there, but check it out. Sure, no problem, Sharif. I'll get to that in just a second. GBTC works on IRA. Yep. So yeah, but there's risk with that one, right, Big Gab? Because GBTC is kind of we'll call it depegged from the price of Bitcoin. It's supposed to track it, but it's really not. It's off. And I was expecting that by the end of this year, by the end of 2023, we would have a Bitcoin ETF. And I don't mean a Bitcoin futures ETF. I mean a spot ETF. And if that happens, then I'm really excited for crypto. But the way that Gary Gensler and the SEC is going, there's no way that's going to happen this year. So there was all this excitement that GBTC, let me bring a chart up here. Bring up GBTC for you. There was all this excitement that GBTC, we should have, I actually thought we'd have a spot ETF by March 20th. I don't know when I put that one on there, but that was a while back. We don't. And we're not going to have one probably for a while because of all this garbage that's going on right now. So I'll just delete that bad forecast. But you've seen it, move up in value. That's because Bitcoin has been moving up. But if I look at the spread here, which is GBTC minus, it's a weird little formula here. Here's GBTC. So right now, it's trading at a $12,000 discount to Bitcoin. So what a lot of people are thinking is, okay, I will buy GBTC. When they get converted over to a spot ETF, this will shoot back up to parity, which means it'll jump about $12,000, and I will get, make a ton of money. Not $12,000, but it will recoup the spread here. I don't know if that's going to happen, so I would not hang my hat on that one. It seems a little bit sketchy to me to make that trade, but a lot of people buying GBTC thinking, oh, it's gonna come back up here towards that zero, which would be at par with Bitcoin. I don't know. The longer this struggle goes on, the less likely that gap is going to close. All right, let me go back here. Is an AI picture of Merlin as Kramer in our future? No, I wouldn't do that to myself. I don't mind torturing my guests by using AI pictures of them, but torturing myself, that's just not going to work. No, thank you. All right, so I had a couple of things that people wanted me to look at here real quick. Where was it from? Just give the name again. You wanted me to look at Boeing. Where was that one? Look at BA, he says. I forgot where it went. Oh, well. I'll look at Boeing for you. I was going to try to get your name in here, but I don't know where that one went. I got people want silver. I got Boeing. And now, I guess for the last part of the show, I'll just do review. So let's look at BA, Boeing. From a technical perspective, you had this beautiful double bottom that formed back here in May. So you hit once, hit twice, broke the high, and all of a sudden you're off to the races. It actually looks like it hit its measuring object. For those that don't know, you can take, when you look at a double bottom, you're looking at price comes down. Come on, Merlin, this is going to take forever this way. We hit that to repeat. So price comes down, bounces back up, reaches back towards those lows, and then you get a W, right? That's a double bottom. Well, you could also, once you have that, put a line right across the top. So the theory is that it will, once it breaks out, it will move the distance or depth of that W. So how do we do that one? We would take it from the top here, measure to the bottom, which is right about there, and that becomes your breakout objective. Oops, get rid of that. That becomes your breakout objective. And where are we going to move that to? Would be right. Come on, man. Stupid drawing tools. Okay. Move that to right there, and that becomes your target. We got fairly close, right? So it looks like about 235 would be your target based off of that formation there. So nice double bottom. It certainly has shown that trend is reversed. Technically, I'm not that interested in it right now. What do you have? You just have kind of sideways consolidation. It actually looks like it's getting weaker, I'll be honest. If I look at this price chart, it looks like now it's starting to reverse because you see it's been making lower lows, lower highs. You have a shooting star that formed today. So I personally, if I was looking at it, I would just draw my line across the bottom here. And come Monday morning, if this bad boy opens up above $211.39, I would most likely look to short that one if it opened up above it and then broke below, because you had this 6 days in a row of nothing but green, and now all of a sudden you came into overhead supply. It's a pullback in a shorter term downtrend for 2 months. Shorter term, I like this as a potential short. I hate to say it. Long term, look, I'm not bullish on it until we get back above the high here, which was 221. Get above 221, okay, fine, jump on it. But right now it looks like you're gonna have a pullback. Yep, there you go, Oliver. Same, I agree. Let's see, the other one, so that was Boeing. There you go, that was for Sharif. And then let's see, is Coinbase going to survive? Oh man, I don't know. I think so. I think Coinbase will. I think Coinbase has extremely deep pockets. Coinbase was ready knowing the SEC was going to come after them at some point. So not only do they, and here's where you got to know the fight, right? This is not the SEC, which is the 900-pound gorilla, the 50 million pound gorilla out there with infinite pockets to fight legal battles, right? What you have is they've been picking fights with people that, for really, they pick the worst ones. They're going after Ripple. Ripple has billions of dollars, and they will happily spend that on a legal battle. Coinbase not only has, imagine you got two people picking a fight in the school, on the school playground, right? You got the big bully in school, that's the SEC. You got the one kid who's really smart, which most people like, but the bully hates him, that's Coinbase. The problem here with Coinbase is the SEC thinks it's just going after Coinbase. But you guys tell me, who is invested in Coinbase? Who's invested in Circle, which is invested by Coinbase? When you look through the names of who's backing Coinbase, that bully was stupid to pick that fight. Because in the corner of Coinbase, you've got Goldman Sachs, one of the largest banks in the world. Number two, you've got BlackRock, which is way bigger than I think the SEC even understands. So you've got two of the biggest bullies in the world, financial bullies and influential bullies, in the corner of Coinbase. Not only that, but they've got dozens and dozens of other people invested in that publicly traded company. Ripple, not publicly traded. Kraken, not publicly traded. Go after those guys. But they went after a publicly traded company who's got deep pockets and major people behind them. If BlackRock is invested in Coinbase and is invested in Circle, you think that they're going to sit idly and not have any say in that? I guarantee you that right now, BlackRock has got people on Capitol Hill going, this bullshit's got to stop. Back off Coinbase. You know what I mean? You picked the wrong fight. So I'm actually happy they went after Coinbase. I think that Coinbase will survive. I think Coinbase has the money. I think they have diversity of products as well. It's not just crypto, plus they're doing institutional trading for people. So I think they'll survive. I mean, if you look at the price chart, you remember a while back, I was actually bullish on it. And my comments were, will they survive? Now, they had a pretty damn rocky road. We were down here at 32 bucks, jumped all the way up to 86. So that was a hell of a run. But, well off those all-time highs over 400 bucks. Long term, I think Coinbase will make it. I think what we're going to see in this upcoming election, again, I agree, Oliver, they are absolutely gangster. Those are the kind of guys that you feel like they're the ones going to be breaking kneecaps of a politician that doesn't. I mean, what are they going to do? Watch out, Elizabeth Warren. You're going after this crypto. You got some people from BlackRock. Hey, Tony, they got Warren. You never know. I would not mess with BlackRock at all. No way. It used to be Goldman Sachs is the one you didn't mess with. BlackRock is now way bigger and way more powerful and way more connected. So, look, I don't know if Coinbase is going to make it. If I had to, if I was forced to say yes or no, I'd say yes. The question is, how long does this battle against crypto last? My guess is it will stop on the election in 2024. So we'll start hearing a lot more about the posturing and positioning of different parties for and against crypto. And next year, again, make your voice heard. Vote for the issues that are important to you. If crypto's not important to you, that's fine. No problem with me. Vote on the issues that are important to you. For me, this is one of the important ones. And I would gladly, if I was in Massachusetts, I would, without question, there's no argument for me, I would be voting for a competitor for Elizabeth Warren. just simply because she's totally anti-crypto. Again, if she said, I would like to impose rules and regulation to make crypto more safe, okay. If I was a Democrat, I'd probably still vote for her. But to say anti-crypto army, that's a declaration of war. You know, that to me, that's just ignorance and shallow, short-sightedness, not really understanding the issue. Anyway, let me go on. What else I have here? I want your mom to make an AI of me while trading the NASDAQ wearing my Army OCP uniform. Okay, you got to email me the picture and I'll do my best. I used GBTC for day trading a couple of years ago. I stick to BTC on the ledger now. Yeah, you know, it's tough because GBTC is that gateway drug. It's the one that gets you into crypto for someone who just trades stocks. But it's not really Bitcoin, is it? All right, last one. I had a question earlier. Has the Fed ever raised by anything other than multiples of 25? Great question. I don't know that one, Liz. I mean, I know that they've raised 75 points. I saw a 75 basis point raise before. That was crazy. You know, I've seen 75 basis points cut before. That was crazy as well. Man, 1998, there were some... Was that 98? I remember one day Ben Bernanke did some crazy cut during the market hours, and all of a sudden my chart, it was so funny, you guys. Imagine your chart looked like this, right? So this is your chart. I'm sitting there trading, and imagine this is I'll do it to a 5-minute chart just so we can see a 5-minute chart. So I was trading on 1 or 5-minute charts. And imagine that this is the, let's go to regular hour trading. Imagine this is your chart. All of a sudden, within 1 second, my chart goes from looking like this, it just goes whoosh, and look like this with a giant spike straight up. And it's because Alan Greenspan cut rates like, I think it was 50 or 75 basis points as the market was open. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So I just kept on buying. I kept on buying at market and actually made money on that crazy move. But, you know, I don't know if they do it in smaller increments than 25 basis points. I wouldn't think that would be against the rules. I think it would be no problem for them to say, we're going to raise 10 basis points. I don't see why they have to stick with quarters. I don't think that there's a rule that says they have to stick with quarters, but off the top of my head, I can't recall where they didn't raise 25 basis points or do something in 25. The crypto ghost is out of the bottle and can't go back. Yep, it is Pandora's box, although Pandora was a negative thing. You're not putting it back in, right? It's like saying we're going to stop crypto and it'd be banned altogether is like saying you're going to stop AI. It's not going to happen. Once people saw ChatGPT, its functionality, once people saw what Midjourney can do, and that's just the basic functionality. I know we've got some people in this room right now that are coders, right? You write code. You open up ChatGPT and you're like, hey, write me a piece of code that outlines in easy language for TradeStation. I want to see all of the shooting star formations that happen over the last 30 days. Boom, it'll write you the code. It's insane. Now, it's not perfect code, but if you're a programmer, the amount of heavy lifting that can be done by AI is unbelievable, and it's not going away. Ban it all you want. It's going to get bigger and more prevalent going forward, and so is crypto. Margaret Dragon Mike says, I use Beto for calls and puts. See, my problem with Beto is you don't know what it is. Right? Okay, it's trading at $17.52. Well, what is it? What is it? Is this Bitcoin? How much of a Bitcoin? What percentage? What fraction, right? If it was truly a representation of Bitcoin, it should be some multiple. So here you can see Bitcoin trading at $28,500, right? Well, then this should be $285 or $28.50 or some fraction of Bitcoin. You just have no idea. Nothing. Anyway, let me, let's see. Interesting. It can read your thoughts. Pretty much, if you can, pretty much. It's pretty nuts. If they haven't, it seems odd. Pals, exactly. I thought that same thing, Liz. Like, why would he say 5.1? I think what it is that's a consensus between all the voting members. So you have some people saying 5, some people saying 5.25. It's doing the average would be 5.1. That's, I'm pretty sure, why you get that number. Cool. I think that I have to wrap things up because Big Eb is already counting down the seconds and he's saying 6 minutes left and Merlin has it. Oh, what I wanted to do real quick is I wanted to show you the relationship between these two. So actually I can't. What I want to do is pull up Bitcoin futures. You know, let me see if I can do that in TradingView. So here is Beto, and let me add in on top of this. We'll just do BTC USD. So we'll go plus, and I'll go BTC USD. And we'll do Coinbase's version of it. So we'll add this bad boy in. Same pane. We'll do percent scale. These should be identical. There should be absolutely no difference whatsoever between these two if it's a Bitcoin ETF. So here is 5 minutes. Let's go to a daily. So they're actually pretty damn close. There are some discrepancies here. You can see that it fluctuates a little bit more percentage-wise. You know, if you look since wherever our starting point is back here, since December, let's go to the January 1st. Close enough. Here's since January 5th. So call it this year. BITO, the ETF, is only up 17.5. Hold on. No, that's not right. BITO is up 65%, and Bitcoin spot is up 69%. So that difference there is typically fees eating away at it. Missed my question. I'll put it in chat later because... Oh, do it, GD. Do it real quick. Add it in there. Add the futures. Let me see if I can delete that one out of here. Let's get rid of that. And let's scroll up. I wish I could just drag and drop. That'd be great. Let's go plus and add in BTC. Click on that futures. And there we go. And we'll do that one. Same scale. So similar. BITO is underperforming, at least for right now, the futures market. And again, I think that has to do with fee structures. And you just don't know what makes up BITO. If you look it up, it's like, oh, it's futures contracts. But what really is it? We just don't know. Scrolling back here, GD, so I can end up with yours. How then was Bitcoin used on the dark web Silk Road? Did they have to use an exchange, or was there a peer-to-peer capabilities? It was peer-to-peer. It was peer-to-peer. It was wallets, right? Sending from wallet to wallet. And I'm not sure whether Silk Road actually had infrastructure in place to facilitate the transactions. I believe that they did have their own mechanism for proving that transactions are made. But that's how it was done. And again, for those who know crypto, you do not use Bitcoin for any illegal activity. You're going to go buy 8 pounds of black tar heroin online. Don't use Bitcoin. Use Monero, right? Use Zcash. Use ones that have ring signatures or ZK snarks or some algorithm or consensus mechanism that make it anonymous, because last thing you want is somebody coming back to you and saying, hey, you bought that. They can track it with Bitcoin, right? If I bought some illegal drugs or weapons or extorted somebody with Bitcoin and you paid me, all they have to do is watch that address and see where it goes. At some point, to cash it out, I have to move to an exchange. So I'll move it to an exchange, Coinbase. They'll go, oh, it landed at Coinbase. They'll subpoena Coinbase and say, where did that money go to? Whose account was that deposited into? And Coinbase is going to go, oh, it went to Merlin Rothfeld's account. Done. Booked. So don't use Bitcoin for it. Since BITO uses futures and has to roll each month, I wonder if it has a contango issue. I believe it does. And that's, again, why I don't trust those products. Anyway, let me wrap up here. Oh, sorry, Gary. I had your question, but I'm done. I got to wrap up. My whiskey's almost gone. I got 2 minutes left, so I can't let Big Eb win today. Here is what you have cooking for Monday. You have, from the U.S. perspective, lots of manufacturing numbers coming out. You can see there's ISM, manufacturing PMI, and prices, construction spending, etc. You also have a rate statement coming out for Australia. That will be at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, so just after midnight East Coast time, and that's the exciting stuff out there. As far as trades, I meant to give you guys a number today because, you know, I've been giving you the numbers on the JP Morgan, the Bank of America. The Schwab one is closed, but I had First Republic as well. Silver, my XLE, XLF. I had puts and calls on all of those, selling calls and puts against current positions or just puts to open positions. All of my puts today. It was a great day. Everything expired, worthless, out of the money, and I collected all that premium. So thank you to all of those people out there that were buying those puts from me or buying those calls. I appreciate the contributions to the Rothfeld Fund. That said, hope you guys have a fantastic remainder of your weekend. Go do something fun. Have another glass of whiskey. It's hopefully going to be nice and sunny out there. So cheers to you all. Thank you so much for the participation this week. Let me know if there's something you want to talk about next week. You can email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or put it down below any YouTube video. Next week, Sam Evans is going to be on the program. Yes, I actually can have Sam Evans back on the program. Excited to have him back. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend. Do something fun. I'll see you next week.